Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is G. You're watching Allastrology. And today we're talking eclipses. The eclipses for 2025. The number 4. There's 4 eclipses this year. Not 5, not 6, just 4. Which usually can be considered a normal thing because normally it's 4 a year. Think of the pandemic. Think 2020, right? I think we had 5 or 6 eclipses that year. So normally lots of changes, right? Now, with that said, the 4 eclipses, there's still going to be lots of changes, okay? Just because we have a new administration here in the US, and well, that's how things work. That's how things work. A new administration, new policies. And so, yeah, we'll take a look at these eclipses real quick. We'll talk about the dates and the degrees. And then at a later video, at another time, we'll do the deep dives. The first one is March. Yeah, March 14th. March 14th. And this one is at 23 degrees of Virgo energy. 23 degrees of Virgo. Basically, to kind of just plan and understand within that planning that for eclipse energy, it typically will show up in your life, like the events start occurring long before the date of the eclipse. And that would be true when you have something that matches the degree of that eclipse. So if you have something in Virgo at 23 degrees, stuff's already started to occur in your life. Think Virgo and all those Virgo keywords. Health, pets, day-to-day routines. When we talk health, think gut and digestion, right? Think wellness, think healthcare, think service, think the healthcare industry in terms of home healthcare aides and nurses, nursing, but the service industry in general, right? So that goes from, there's a wide scope. There's a wide rainbow, lots of colors on the service industry and what that looks like, from the policeman to the fireman to somebody who pulls up to the house to take out the trash, someone who's pulling the weeds and cutting the lawn, to people who are making your coffee in the cafe. Service industry, the hotel industry, right? We think of anybody who is considered a servant, but usually servant in a very non-flashy way, right? The people that we need to be there, that in our most vulnerable moments, we rely and depend on them. Remember, think pandemic again, the essential workforce, right? Like we needed them. They needed to be there for society to function. The details, the scheduling, the tasks, the projects. Virgo's known to be able to connect the dots. It sees all the data, all the details in the big picture. And it's striving for perfection. So many times Virgo energy gets accused of being critical, and usually overly critical. And many times, wherever your Virgo energy is, you many times will take that energy, that critical eye type of energy, and it's geared towards self. Whichever house it's in for you, you may take it and feel like this could be better. I can see how I can improve on this. Like this can be so much better. I'll work on this some more, right? And you're willing to do it by piecemeal, a little bit at a time, even stitch by stitch, even. Like that's Virgo energy, right? When it comes to creating stuff, it's doing it in a very homey, domestic fashion, but serving in a domestic way. Because we think of, again, you got to do the laundry. Who does the laundry? Who does the cooking? Who does the grocery shopping, right? All the things you need to have done in your home that you would maybe hire somebody else to come in and to take care of for you, okay? So 23 degrees in Virgo on March 14th. This is I don't think I said this part. My apologies. This is a total lunar eclipse. So it's a big release. because it's a total lunar eclipse, and it also will have the south node traveling through Virgo. So it is a south node total lunar eclipse. South node also emphasizes the past, also emphasizes a release of some sort. Okay, you got it? The 23 degrees, yeah, for those of you who have been following along doing the degree theory astrology, that 23 degrees speaks of surprises, shocks, exciting, different, new, sudden disruptions. That's 23 degrees. Think Aquarius, think Uranus. Okay. So we go to the next one. So this one is now going to be a solar eclipse. Solar, right? Because eclipses in general, right? We're following the cycles of the moon's nodes. Solar eclipse. So after we've had a full moon, now we're going to have a new moon, solar partial eclipse. And this is March 29th. March 29th. This is at 9 degrees of Aries. Aries energy. Whoo! So there's a lot to unpack there, because 9 degrees is a Jupiter degree. Think Sagittarius, think beliefs, and how 9 degrees can add to things, right? Can exaggerate things, can kind of, I don't want us to use the word blow up as in like fireworks, but in Aries, it could be kind of like that, right? But it might also simply be something that is just, there's an abundance of something. We've added to something. So with Aries energy and it being 9 degrees about beliefs and freedoms and the future, 9 degrees is the future of our freedoms. Aries, the future of the war, the future of wars, the future of fighting, the future of my physical body and its location, the freedoms of my body. Okay. Solar eclipse usually speaks to something new beginning. And it's usually more in the material, tangible world. Like the lunar eclipse we just spoke of, the March 14th lunar eclipse, is normally something that is more focused. It's really kind of like an internal thing. It's a moon, it's a lunar thing. It's kind of internalized. But at the same time, because it's lunar, because it's moon, because it's part of a grand cycle, it's a global event, right? Eclipses are global. Because it's a big cycle and we talk about moon, we often think about how when we know there's a full moon up in the sky and we can just tell, right? And things, people are very different, right? That elevation of emotion type thing. So we think of families and homes and women and mom and the mother wound, right? But internal energy, internal, right? Feelings and emotions. Solar eclipse is a little bit usually more optimistic. It's fiery, it's the sun, and it's a fiery ass eclipse because it's in Aries. So it's about going forward. It's about a new beginning. Aries is always about starting something. The question is, what's Aries going to start? So that 9 degrees, some people might be like, hey, 9 degrees, higher education, going back to school. Possibly. Like I said, we'll have deeper dive videos to talk about these when we get closer to the events. But this is a video just to kind of give you an overview for 2025 so that you can kind of take a look at your chart and figure some things out if you need to. Remember, if you've got objects at these degrees, these events, I don't even think I said this part, but normally you are feeling 6 months to a year in advance, from 6 months to a year in advance. That 23 degree Virgo one, I'm hearing a lot of feedback from people, myself, other people I know, the Virgo stuff with Jupiter in Gemini, Jupiter squaring Virgo, health and gut and digestive issues. I've heard this from so many people. I'm curious if you guys know anybody or if you yourself have been, but when you see the eclipse and the fact that March is 3 months into 2025. Well, I'm recording this in December of 2024, right at the very beginning of December. So we are definitely deep in this energy for that March 14th and the March 29th one. You follow? So a new beginning with the body, possibly some health routines. And you see the connection, my physical body, my appearance. Man, this has been a big conversation with a lot of people. But then the Virgo stuff, my day-to-day routines, my health routines, my health habits. Remember, that includes your food choices, your food selection, your food prep, right? We think of people in the kitchen, people in the restaurants. That's all the service industry. So it comes down to, what am I doing? right? Am I going to be gardening this year? Am I switching up the ingredients? Am I, cutting out, right? Am I getting rid of certain things? Am I adding certain things? Am I going and thinking I got to start thinking holistic, right? It all kind of makes sense, doesn't it, when you connect the Virgo to the Aries and starting something because people have already started. It's already in these conversations that I've been having with folks. And some people have had to seek medical help. They're like, I'm at wit's end. I don't know what to do. Like I've had to take off work, right? So we can kind of see, we can feel it, we can see it. We are like, we're in it. We're already in it. All right. So those are the first set of eclipses. The second set comes a few months later. The next one is going to be a lunar eclipse. This is a total lunar eclipse. This is September 7th. September 7th. This is at 15 degrees of Pisces. 15 degrees of Pisces. Yeah, 15. Keep 15 degrees Pisces in mind. Find out where this is in your chart. It's a lunar eclipse, right? So we're dealing with the south node and the lunar eclipse event. So a lot of moon energy, home, family, emotions, right? I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, holy shit, like this is a pretty goddamn private eclipse for me in particular. The first two are, I've got stuff at these degrees in so far for all three of these, right? And speaking of having stuff at these degrees, give yourself a 2-degree orb on your chart, okay? And I don't want to make this too complicated, but so let's go to Pisces, right? The one that we're on, 15 degrees, which means if you have something from 13 to 17 degrees of Pisces, you see, 2 degrees before, 2 degrees after, 2-degree orb. It's just the distance, right? So 2 degrees. So 13 to 17 degrees of Pisces for the September 7th total lunar eclipse. Okay, Pisces. Pisces is fantasy and sci-fi and the dream. It's also creative energy and sensitivity and sound and understanding, wanting unity and oneness. I love the creative energy of Pisces as long as it understands it's pretend, it's make believe, we're creating this, and we're not trying to sell it as truth, right? Like that's what Pisces is really good for. It's good for prayer and meditation, for faith. It's great for the non tangible realm. That's what Pisces is, the non tangibles of life, right? Non tangibles. So 15 degrees of Pisces. And so remember now, it's an event, it's a release, it's a let go of some sort, likely something switching up and changing. When we talk about the other degrees for the other two eclipses, so for the 9 degrees Aries one, 2-degree orb. So that would be between 7 and 11 degrees of Aries for the March 29th solar eclipse. It's just a partial solar eclipse, which still is optimistic and positive and usually tangible, physical for sure, because it's in Aries. But at the same time, it's like a new beginning. It's kind of got the future involved because I'm thinking about the future of my body, the future of my freedoms, right? Big time. Because this one is a north node eclipse. Right. Because the north node and the south nodes run opposite, but because the north node is going to be in Pisces, well, Aries is right next to Pisces. You follow? So we would still consider this a north node eclipse, but it's just in a different sign. Right. The nodes moved mid-January, and it still counts because Aries is here and Pisces is here, and the node went from Aries to Pisces. Well, now we're having an eclipse, kind of a leftover eclipse from 2024. We're having an eclipse in Aries. So automatically, that just means that wherever the node is and wherever the eclipse is, right? It's whichever node is closest to the event, to the eclipse. Okay? Just so you know for the future. All right. So the last eclipse is September 21st, right? September 21st. This is a partial solar eclipse, a partial solar eclipse. And so this one is at 29 degrees of Virgo. 29. Whoa. What I think is super fascinating about this 29 and why it's good to know about this event now is The node's up in the sky come yeah, come January, mid-January. I've got a video for it, so if you need to know, what's it gonna mean when the south node goes into Virgo, there's a video for that, right? It talks about the north node and the south node. I'll attach it below so that you can check it out. It'll just give you more information how to understand this in your life. But normally, having that node at that 29 degrees, well, that happens in January. Well, there's going to be an eclipse here in September. So, what that tells us is this 29 degrees is hot. It's a hot event. The node was just there. And then some months later, we're going to have an eclipse here. And eclipses have this strong energy where if we have objects there, we can feel it 6 months to a year in advance. So that 29 degrees one, you really want to look for that one in your chart because number one, it's a critical degree. It's extreme. It's at 29. Number two, you're going to start feeling those events. If you aren't feeling them yet, you'll likely start feeling them. And you would kind of want to better understand what does a 29 degrees in Virgo mean? Well, I've mentioned in the past the Virgo energy, health, day-to-day routines, tasks, projects. There's a lot of energy around Virgo about perfection, a lot of energy about, I can see how this could be and should be better. And God, we have just seen so many examples in the healthcare industry. It's not a pointing a finger at nurses of any kind or the home healthcare aides that, like my mom is a recipient, and the work they do. I know myself and my entire family is so grateful that they're there because there are times, especially for myself, there are times when it's really difficult, and I'm only on the phone with her. But because of Alzheimer's, dementia, because of how that disease works, woo, it's hard to be around someone when they, start saying things that are very hurtful and mean, and like who they once were is completely gone. Do you follow? Like that person doesn't exist anymore. They're gone. And so it's like you're having this rapport, not really a rapport, but you're trying to help someone that you don't know, which is okay, right? Um, but when they're treating you like shit, it's really difficult to be around. And so you need those moments where complete strangers can step in. There's no emotional ties to them, there's no history, and they can just go in and do the job. That way this person gets taken, so anyway, if you've been there, you understand what I'm saying. But 29 degrees, we see lots of examples in general of problems with health. Okay. And so I don't think it's specifically just about the healthcare industry. Obviously, insurance companies are involved in this because of the drug dependency that humans have become acclimated to. Whereas if I have a problem, okay, let's use meds. Remember, Pisces is at the opposite of Virgo. You see? So what will happen? That's the question. What will happen? There has to come a time where as humans we have to hold ourselves accountable for the state of our own being. Granted, there are absolutely times when drugs and meds are needed, right? Whether it's for an emergency or I know a lot of people, mental health issues, and these folks could not function unless they were on their meds. So this isn't bad rapping yet. I'm talking about the dependency for people who, if they just were a little bit more involved in their own health and well-being, you follow? There might be, there could be way more holistic methods, and some of them are really basic. If you think about Taurus and Virgo energy, starting from what you put in your mouth, right? Exactly. Starting from what you put in your mouth, do you move? Does your body, just this is I don't want to make this is like I'm some health guru because I'm not. But some things are just really simplistic. And if we keep things, kind of like common sense and some practical, tangible, like just daily habits, the Virgo part can really step in and be like, wow, see, look at this. Like you didn't need to go down that path, or you went down that path and it was a nightmare. So the medicine and the drugs and that 29 degrees is going to be super important. Okay. So That's a release. I'm sorry, that's a solar eclipse. So that's like a light being shown on something, but it's in Virgo. So it's a solar eclipse in Virgo, which remember now this is where we get this is a south node eclipse because the south node will definitely be in Virgo, but it's got a solar part attached to it. You see? So we'll go into a little bit more details about deep dive on all of these in the next videos that I put out when we get closer to the events, a few months in front of each event. So I'll have a deep dive for the March one. But in general, you can plot these out in your chart. You can say, okay, what do I got between, remember, 2-degree orb. So let me do this last one for you. The solar eclipse on September 21st at 29 degrees of Virgo, you are going to put a 2-degree orb before and a 2-degree orb after, which means from 27 degrees of Virgo to like 1 to 2 degrees of Libra. So 27 degrees of Virgo to about 2 degrees of Libra, we'll say. Okay. When you're looking at these eclipses, okay, I have them listed out here. I'm reading a list on the side of the screen. When you see them written out and you write down the orbs, right? Extend the orb, the 2-degree before, the 2-degree after. Keep in mind also that when I say 29 degrees of Virgo, in your chart, you're also looking at the opposite. You're also looking at 29 degrees of Pisces. So eclipses never happen at one end. I'm trying to look for my pen. I guess I didn't bring it in here. Eclipses happen, even though technically it happens over here, 29 degrees of Virgo, it shoots energy down and right across to its polar opposite. So 29 degrees of Virgo and 29 degrees of Pisces for September 21st. For the September 7th one, it's 15 degrees of Pisces and 15 degrees of Virgo. Okay. For the March 29th one, it's 9 degrees of Aries and 9 degrees of Libra. Okay. For the March 14th one, it's 23 degrees of Virgo and 23 degrees of Pisces. Yeah. All right. So your girl's got something at both ends for all of these eclipses. As I'm doing this, I'm like, okay. All right. So that's it. I hope this helps. I hope it helps you to be able to kind of plot out and plan for 2025 and at least not feel so blindsided when things occur, when conversations are had or when events happen or whatnot or whatever. This way you can kind of see the timing and the cycles in your chart. And hopefully it gives you some sense of stability where things just aren't like helter-skelter changing for no reason. It's like, no, it's right here in the chart. It's right here in the chart. It gives me a little bit of sense of stability, and I hope it does the same for you. All right, till next time, take care. Bye-bye.